Hey, it's Matt with EHS Physical Therapy and Chiropractic. I am joining Chris today. I don't get in these videos too often. Chris usually makes videos when I'm not around or I'm busy with notes, and him too. So I'm joining today to kind of go over a first-time experience that happened for me here at the clinic, and also to talk about something that I don't know if we've actually talked about this one specific topic with people, what they might experience. So the other day, I took a phone call, and the person asked specifically if Chris worked at the clinic. And I told them, yes, he does. And she addressed him as Dr. Chris Erickson, which is not normal. And it's not normal because people don't usually say Dr. Chris Erickson when they call in. So, I told her, like, yes, he does. And she asked where we were located. And I gave her the address, and then she asked what city and state. And I immediately thought, well, that's a really weird question to ask. So my brain immediately thought, okay, this is someone trying to sell something to the clinic, or market something. And so I told her, Omaha, Nebraska, and she was like, oh shoot. She goes, well, you can't help me then. And she goes, I live in Colorado. And I go, well, okay. I'm like, well, we might be able to, but how did you hear about Chris? Like, that's odd. And she said that she actually came across one of Chris's videos on YouTube talking about disc herniations, which is why we do these. And she was like, I was hoping maybe he'd really be able to help me because I liked everything he was talking about. And as she was saying this, she was working her way into basically saying like, oh shoot, sorry, okay, well I'll find somewhere else. And I was able to let her know quick enough that just because we live in different states doesn't mean we can't help her. We're not bound by state lines, different countries. If yes, when it comes to maybe some insurance rules or insurance policies, but not if you're just seeking help from someone and you want to just offer on a cash-based system. So I did let her know that yes, we can help you, and then I gave her information on to Chris. Um, so later on, Chris did give her a call. Great conversation that they had, which leads into the other part of something that we were going to talk about today that we have never really, I don't think, specifically discussed it. So I'm going to let Chris explain what his conversation was with her.
Sure. Thank you, Matt. So that was an excellent conversation with Danielle. First of all, thank you, Danielle, for reaching out. She's a perfect candidate or person, for what we do and for what we specialize in helping people with this exact, problem or issue. So I've had it a couple times, and it is confusing. And if it looks like, what you're experiencing with your, rehab care team or provider, then you're going to want to stay tuned here and listen to what we got to talk about. So certain times, you don't have to have the classic pain that starts in one spot and radiates down an arm or radiates down a leg. It can happen where you only feel like a discomfort or maybe a tingle, or in this case with Danielle and actually another guy that we saw, Garrett in Elkhorn, just a weakness. Garrett's more extreme. It was just weakness. He had no pain, but he could not fire his left pec or his left tricep. Okay, there was just no strength there at all. But he had full motion, full pain, so he could not understand what's going on. Did something shut off? A nerve? All of a sudden, happened to me? And he had a mechanism, meaning he was wrestling and he got thrown back, and the back of his head got and shoulders got flexed forward real hard. Okay, so that was a clue, a key. Now with Danielle, she had some pain in this scapular area through here, but her biggest complaint was more, again, weakness in the tricep. Just didn't have any strength in her arm to push, to pick things up, to carry. And so what's been going on? What have you been working on at your PT? So she was doing physical therapy locally, which is very normal. It's what you're probably doing as well. If you're close to someplace, you're going to go with what's convenient to where you live. But the reason I think, and we had a good long conversation, probably an hour yesterday, trying to figure this thing out for her, is that she wasn't noticing significant results with the place she was going, because she's like, I'm kind of questioning, what they're doing. There was some just basic, neck movements, which didn't really do anything for her. She has, pretty good motion now. This is 4 months ago. So they were doing a lot of just arm and bands and tricep strengthening and trying to get her into more exercise, like with push-ups and things like that. But the question and the problem comes back to understanding where the issue or the problem is originating from, where it's coming from. So if you have a tricep weakness and pain specifically down to like, tingle down to like the pinky and ring finger or the middle finger, we know that it's in that lower cervical spine around that C7, C8 nerve root, which controls that tricep strength. So by just doing tricep motions and strengthening, you're not actually addressing why the tricep is weak. She didn't have an accident where like, oh, I tore my tricep. Well, then it would make sense to do like, tricep things. Yeah. If you had a musculotendinous injury where you knew you did something to that arm, then it would make sense to like work on the triceps, right? So I think what happened with her is just her body, she's young, she's healthy, she's active. Over the course of time, 4 months, she's improved on her own. Whether what they were doing for her was helpful or whether it was more just basic movement and time just helped her over time, I don't think it was harmful. I just don't know if it was as effective as it could have been or sped the process along as it could have been. So once we started moving, so she came across a video of ours and she's like, maybe I should be moving my lower neck. It was just some basic side-to-side rotations. They never explored deep,
pushing her range of motion further.
And especially into the deep lower cervical spine, upper thoracic spine. So once we kind of got into this and that, and she's like, oh yeah, I feel that into my arm. I feel it in that tensiony, that spasmy, tensiony, pulley feeling in that vertical shoulder blade area, right through there, very classic. So if you're getting pain, classically that vertical through here, and then like trap, and then like down into the arm, a burning, a pulling, a tension, muscle spasms, that's going to be as a result, almost, not always, but high likelihood of that upper thoracic or lower cervical spine. And then when you're dealing with that area, you're not going to get it by just getting like in here. That you get all that movement from the upper part of your neck. The lower part, you have to kick it in by either protruding and flexing hard to get into flexion or retracting and extension hard to get the lower part to move. So that's what we had to do. We were able to, improve that symptom for her. And then I'm going to check back with her today and hopefully it remains, better. Because for her, sometimes it takes, hours or a day later to really notice a big change. The one that was quick or drastic, dynamic, and I have a video of it too with Garrett, is once we started, he had no pain until we really, we had to go way far back, and he's like, oh yeah, I do feel something out there. But then once we worked on that, his pec strength and tricep strength significantly improved in like minutes, 30, 40 minutes. It was like, oh yeah, that's a lot stronger. So that's one that, we would have never found if you just started working on, okay, let's just start strengthening the pec and start strengthening the tricep, because it wasn't the source. For another example is the guy that we saw today, that he's actually done now, graduated, success. He had just calf pain and a little bit of like arch pain, and it was not, it was with walking and standing. And again, how did you hurt your calf? I don't know, I didn't do anything to it, it just started hurting. Okay, without a mechanism, the chance that you've actually strained or injured a muscle or tendon is very low. You would know if you were jumping or running or something would happen. So again, for him, we had to explore and test and make sure that it wasn't, in the lumbar spine, which it ends up being. It was a lumbar spine or a low back issue with no low back pain. He might get some, but maybe it was sitting. A little bit of tightness there, but it really skipped this entire spot and was just in the calf. And it would affect him to the point where, standing for 15, 20 minutes just making dinner, it just aches in the calf and he had to go sit down or lie down. Standing in the airport, walking, he went on a long hike over in Scotland. And I think that's, those things that we can't necessarily train for 100%. I mean, we live in a pretty flat area here in Nebraska, and he was gone for a month of backpacking and up and down hiking and walking. So it makes sense that maybe he did hurt his calf somehow. But when you look deeper and assess the lumbar spine, it took that tightness and pain out of the calf, and now he can stand and walk, and it doesn't bother him. He's about 95% improving. Once in a while, a little tiny twinge, but he knows what to do to take it away. So that's what we wanted to talk about today are those odd symptoms. It's not always pain. It doesn't always come on in a nice, beautiful line like you see in the books or the pictures, the classic pinched nerve, the classic sciatica. It could skip, and you could have really little to no pain, and just weakness. It's another symptom. So you have to check all of those things. But that was an interesting day because we had a couple of really cool opportunities to help people. And like Matt said, it doesn't have to be local. We're able to help you virtually like this, from all across the U.S. or the world. So hopefully that was informative. Just make sure that if you're in that situation and you're already getting treated, make sure that they're looking at those other areas of the body, especially if you're not responding. It's just not getting better doing calf stretch after calf stretch after calf stretch. It still hurts. Why is it hurting? Okay, because it's not there. Or, no, I've been working the hell out of this tricep. It's still weak. Well, why? How can I hurt my tricep if I didn't do anything? And I don't even have to be using my arm. I could just be sitting there driving on my phone, right? And all of a sudden my tricep aches. Doesn't make sense, right? There should be some flags going up in a good clinician's head. There should be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. You're not even using the arm. It shouldn't hurt. So, coming from the neck, that's why. Okay, all right, thanks a lot, guys. Get us in the next video. Please hit the subscribe button, like, share, comment. I will get back to every one of your comments. If you leave a comment or ask me a question, I will get back to you.
Notifications.
Notifications.
Yeah.
We're on it all the time. Okay?
Thanks.